Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Lori Williams, and today I want to talk to you about an exercise that I do in order to heal, essentially. This is one of many exercises that I use to heal. This is the one that I call on whenever I need to bring some things up that I've buried, deal with some emotions that maybe uh, have been getting in the way. Um, so it's like, triggers, things like that. Realizing, like if I'm having a conversation with somebody and maybe something like anger comes up out of nowhere, or jealousy, or resentment, or anything like that that comes up, I want to find out where it's coming from and why. Uh, a lot of the times we fear these bad emotions, and the truth of it is they're just emotions. We really should practice getting away from labeling things good or bad, because nothing is good or bad until we put our own personal perception and label on it. So ultimately, if you can look at anger as part of your path and as part of um, your ability to find out what's working for you and what's not, uh, it changes. The course of it changes. How it sits with you it changes. Everything about it changes. So for the sake of this exercise, I just wrote out some stuff. This is stuff that I have dealt with in the past. It's not something that I've dealt with recently, but for the most part, I don't really deal with this stuff as much anymore. I'm not as triggered as I used to be. There is still things that come up once in a while, but I mean, when you first start healing, you might be doing this exercise 4 or 5 times a week, whereas now it's maybe like once every week or two. Things like that come up. So basically what it is, first of all, you have to know like that you're triggered, or that there's something beneath the surface that is wanting to come up. So when I say that you're triggered, it's like something somebody else says, or something, this might even be something that you think in your mind that triggers you. It hits you the wrong way. It might make you angry, it might make you cry, it might make you again, resentment, anger, resentment, all that kind of stuff may come up. So first of all, what in for the sake of this exercise, I want you to remember, I learned this in school. I'm hoping you did too, in English class. You learn, how to have good conversations, and how to basically to like write out good conversations and things like that. So it's like the who, the where, the what, the when, and the how. Those are the questions you're going to ask yourself. And you may be like, I always tell people to consider themselves like that little toddler who's very inquisitive and is always like, why? Irritate the hell out of yourself until you can't answer the why questions, or the when questions, or the where. And if you cannot answer any of those questions anymore, that's how you know you're done. So keep going with this as much as you possibly can, as deep as you possibly can. That being said, if you cannot go as deep as you need to within one setting, by all means, take a break. It will be there for you to pick up again whenever you're ready. It's better for you to walk away from it if you're becoming very overwhelmed than to continue going through with it, and you end up putting yourself in a really bad place mentally and emotionally. You don't want to do that. Um, that being said, I do want to preface this video too by saying, if you're not in a good place mentally or emotionally, I would highly, highly, highly suggest you do not do this exercise when you are alone. If you can, if you know anybody who is a spiritual teacher like myself that can actually help you with the step by step process of this, or at least to be present with you while you're doing this, that will be much better for you. So, basically, I'm giving this exercise to you. I am leaving it up to you to know that your mental and emotional health is in a place where you can handle doing this. And if it's not, walk away. The day will come where it will it will be better. Ultimately, it comes down to it. If your mental and emotional health isn't in a good place right now to be able to do this exercise, still keep the exercise, still keep it, because it's going to come back. There will be a time, providing you keep working on yourself, that you will be able to do this, and you'll be able to do this very effectively. Just because it's not right now doesn't mean anything. It just means you're just not ready for it right now. So, okay, for the sake of this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what I wrote. So, what is the trigger? So I am, for the sake of this video, writing down that my trigger is when my husband is mad at me. Now, somebody who had a very abusive first marriage, being in my current marriage now, I had a hard time anytime my husband would get mad at me, or even it was just like perceived anger. My husband's a pretty laid back guy, so anytime that I even like perceived anger, or he was like a little bit distant or cold or anything, whether it was something I did or not, I would always get triggered by it. So that's the trigger. I know the trigger in that case. So why does it trigger? So there's the why. What I did. What's the trigger? So I did the what. I did the why. Why does it trigger me? Because it reminds me of when my first husband used to get mad at me, and then obviously there'd be some physical, mental, emotional abuse that would follow that. Or, or if you don't know why it triggers you, that's okay too. You want to ask yourself the question: if you don't know why it triggers you, ask yourself, who does it remind you of, or does it remind you of a situation? And if the answer is no to both of those, that's totally fine. You can keep going on with this. So the next question, and this is the most important one that you want to be able to answer: how does it make me feel? So I wrote down anxious, nervous, and intimidated. So then I want to know who's making me feel this way. You can even say, why do I feel this way? There's no, when I'm saying like, I'm asking the who, the how, the why, the what, and I'm asking all of these questions because this is how it works out for me. But if you said, when do I get triggered? It could be like every time you talk to a specific person. You may have to ask yourself, you may have to word the questions differently. But you want to start the question by either a when, a where, a who, a how, or a why. You want to start the question there because that's going to give you the most in-depth answers, the like, most in-depth responses. So again, like I said, you want to know how it makes you feel. So I'm anxious, nervous, and intimidated. So then I said, who is making me feel this way? Now this takes a lot of separation, detachment from the outcome to be able to do this part. And this is the part where if you're not ready for it, it's not going to work out well for you. And the reason is that the truth of it is my ex-husband is not making me live this way anymore. I don't live with him. I don't have a relationship with him at all. I don't have to see him. I don't have to talk to him. Life is perfect as far as our relationship, non-existent relationship goes. It's perfect. Um, so is he actually making me feel this way? Is he actually making me live this way? No, he's not. Is my husband making me feel this way? No, he's not. He's never raised a hand to me. He's never been nasty to me or put me down or anything like that. He's never done any of those things. So obviously, it's me living in my past. And that's not very easy to say. To be able to say that, hey, you know what? My mind is doing this to me. I'm replaying the past and I'm reliving this in my own head. This is very difficult to be able to face that. There is a bonus on this, though. There is a plus side, and I will get to that in a moment. So, what I put down was the answer to who is making me feel this way. It's old patterns, old mindset patterns, and it's old beliefs that no longer are serving me, obviously. And it's me. It's me that's making me feel this way. So, it's old patterns, old beliefs, and myself that's making me feel this way. That truth is very hard to come to. But the good thing about that is if you are the one that's doing it to yourself, here's the good news. You're also in charge of being able to change it. You cannot change what somebody else is doing to you. Typically, like I mean, obviously, if my ex-husband was still making me feel this way, I could get rid of the relationship, which obviously I did, 16 years ago. But at the same time, it's like, so I would still be allowing it if I was staying. But this is just something, I don't know. I find that when you're in that place of realizing, hey, you know what? I'm in control of this. It actually helps you to take your power back and become empowered to be able to make those next steps into uh into healing. And a lot of people will say, oh, this is just you're blaming the victim. No. I've been a victim of every kind of abuse and never once have re-victimized myself by doing these exercises, and I'm not blaming myself. It's actually empowering myself to realize that I didn't do it. I did not. What was done to me was not by me. It was not by my wishes. I did not ask for it. I did not do anything to like ask the person to mistreat me. I never, not once. But the fact that I can change it in my own head, even 16 years later, that's huge. That's like me taking my power back. That's me saying there is no more. There's no more. There's no, I'm not going to live with this one more day. I'm not going to continue to beat myself up with this for one more day. I'm not going to have these memories running through my mind on autopilot one more day because I have control over that. You never have control over necessarily what happens to you, but this is how you're responding to it. And you have 100% responsibility in how you can and how you control it and how you respond to it. And that's what this is showing. So don't, this exercise is not to be used to shame yourself, to guilt yourself, um, to re-victimize yourself, anything like that. This is healing only, and recognizing that you have the power to make changes. Even though you didn't have necessarily have power in the moment, you now have power of how does it affect your life? How does it going to affect your future? You know, how has it affected your past? How has it affected your present? How's it going to affect your future? You have the answer to all of those. The person that did that to you has nothing, has no control over any of that. So then you want to ask the question of how do I choose to feel? Because if I'm choosing, even by not doing anything about it, I'm choosing to hold on to it when I know better. If you don't know better, like if you've never done anything like this, you've never heard of any of these exercises, then don't beat yourself up. You did it, you have lived with it because you didn't know how not to. You didn't know how to get rid of it. So when you know better, you can do better. Again, give yourself, you're not here to judge yourself. You're not here to re-victimize yourself. You're not here to continually put yourself down in any way, shape, or form. This is for healing purposes only. So how do I choose to feel? So obviously, I don't want to feel anxious, nervous, or intimidated whenever my husband gets upset with me. So when I ask the question, how do I choose to feel? Again, it's empowering. It's okay, I have a choice in this. I don't have to feel anxious, nervous, or intimidated. What I actually choose to feel, and this is exactly what I did. Like I said, I actually healed this very early on. And what I did was I decided that I wasn't going to, as soon as I think I still once in a while will get an anxious feeling, my heart will palpitate a little bit, but that's just a physical response. Mentally and emotionally, I'm very calm now, years later of being able to heal this aspect of me. And what I do is the complete opposite of what I used to do with my first husband. So with my first husband, and anytime he'd get mad because I knew the abuse was to follow, I would hide. I would stay very quiet. I would not talk to him. I would, if he was downstairs, I was upstairs. I mean, it was avoidance at all costs. Basically, if I could just stay out of his way, then I wouldn't get abused, you know, as if it was that easy. Um, so when it comes down to it, when I ask myself, how do I choose to feel? It's like, I'm choosing not to hide anymore. So I had to recognize what I was doing, and how I was feeling. So I decided I'm not hiding anymore. So whenever my husband gets upset with me, I talk to him about it. We are very open and very honest emotionally with what our needs are with each other and what our needs are like from ourselves. Um, and this has actually helped to bring my husband and I closer together without me having to put on him, oh, I was abused in my previous marriage, and now you have to pay for all of his things. Like this. What's the whole reason for healing is so other people don't have to pay for things that they never even did. And that's the last thing that I wanted to bring into my second marriage was anything from my first marriage. So when I say, how do I choose to feel? I choose to feel empowered. I choose to feel like I have a voice by talking to my husband. I choose to feel that, and this is one thing I still have to consciously tell myself, is he might be upset, he might be angry, but that anger, and most of the time the anger's not at me. Him being upset is not at me. A lot of the time it's just he's had a stressful day, or maybe something has irritated him or someone else has irritated him, and I'm feeling the energy of it, but it's not because of me. But having an open kind of conversation about that changes everything, and then I know exactly where I stand. So the intimidation and the nervousness never really sets in. Like I said, once in a while I still get like a heart palpitation, like my body still physically reacts to the anxiousness, But I just recognize it and I'm like, it's okay. It's fine. I'm safe. I have to remind myself I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm safe. I'm taken care of. Like I'm not in any harm's way or anything like that. Um, my fight or flight response is still uh to run. So I mean, even years later, and I'll be honest about that, it might never not be. It might, like I force myself to stay, and I think that helps for sure. But I think that the little bit of heart palpitation I get is just a reminder that if I need to flee, I can flee. So I'm grateful. I'm just grateful for the signs that my body's giving me, um, but also realizing in that moment that I have a choice on how I'm going to deal with things. And this, like I said, this exercise has been absolutely incredible for helping me heal my triggers. So then the next thing, and this is probably just as important, is what pattern will I choose to overwrite these patterns? So the patterns of anxiousness, nervousness, intimidation, it kind of goes with the same thing of like, how do I choose to feel? Well, I choose to feel empowered. I choose to feel happy. I choose to feel safe. I choose to feel secure. The patterns, the patterns are the things that we physically do. So the patterns would be, rather than hiding, I go and talk to my husband, instead of assuming that everything that he's angry about is directly linked to me, that we can talk about it and I can actually find out if it's something that I did and correct it in that moment, or if it's just, something else outside of him, like environmental, um, that he's having a hard time with. And the thing is like sometimes he doesn't want to talk about it. Other times he's fine to talk about it. And it actually kind of like, by me changing and overriding the old patterns, it's actually opened up a way for him and I to be able to communicate better about our own feelings. So I definitely encourage you, like, I mean, this is just for the sake of this video. This is just very, like, very tip of the iceberg kind of stuff. I mean, when I actually go through triggers and heal triggers, I may have, 6, 8, 10, 15. I've had 15 pages of my journal filled up with just the who, the when, the where. Keep asking yourself those questions. Even if I can still ask like when or why, then that's the only one. Like I can't answer the who, the what, the when, and the where anymore, but I can still answer the why. I keep going. It's when I cannot answer any of those anymore, that's when I quit. So let me know in the comments if you tried this exercise. Let me know how it worked out for you. If there's anything that you would like to add to it in your experience, if there's anything that you would change, questions, all that kind of stuff, anything. If you want to work with me to help you to get through your healing, you can reach out to me for that as well. And that is it. It's a very simple exercise, and that's one thing about working with me. All of my exercises are very, very simple. Are they easy? Not necessarily, because we're dealing with emotions, and emotions can be heavy, but they're very simple exercises. I like to keep everything very simple. So that is it for this week. I'll see you guys back here next time. Until then, take care. Bye for now.